Okay, I guess it's time to get this thing started. Let's begin to roll solo. Hello, and welcome to Rolling Solo, an Daggerheart actual play show, where I, Paul, play Daggerheart alone against, and I'm the DM. I'm the characters. It's a lot of fun for me, anyway. Today, we are going to introduce our next campaign. If you didn't watch the finale of Campaign 3 last week, highly recommend. It was awesome. Um, uh, but it's now that campaign is over. We have to retire our happy little bunny rabbits and start a new campaign in a new setting. So that's what we're going to do. And we're still kind of playtesting the some of the Daggerheart Void content. So we'll be playtesting that, and which means that we'll do the same thing this campaign that we did last campaign. Every episode, we're going to level up every episode, so that every episode the characters are have new powers, new abilities, and we play those out and see how they go. And we'll try to play 10 sessions for campaign 4 as well. So, where are we going to play this campaign? We are playing in the campaign frame known as the Colossus of the Drylands, which is one of the 5 campaign frames in the Daggerheart core book. It's the idea, um, it's supposed to be a gritty Western. Kind of post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic, um, dry campaign setting. Um, the um, there's uh, some campaign mechanics that come up and some other things that are important. So one thing that's important is that this entire campaign is going to take place in a vast landscape of mesas and red rock and long sunsets and dryness and desertness. Um, and this campaign is going to take place in that kind of a landscape. And we will be facing what are known as Colossus, hence the Colossus of the Drylands, Colossi. A colossus is a gigantic creature powered by what is known as, let's see, they are powered by. Okay, well, they are. There are 9 fragments of the soul of a god called Kudamat. Um, and these 9 fragments are buried in the various parts um, of the drylands. And Kudamat is awakening, and so each of these shards um, is a source of this kind of soul power, and each one will transform into a colossus. The way the campaign works, if you play it out over, say, 50 or 25 to 50 um, sessions, is that there's a hunting phase where the characters hunt through the drylands for a colossus, and then a fighting phase, basically, where they fight a colossus. We're not going to have time for all that, so we're going to hunt and immediately find and attack. So that'll be fun. Because you have to, through the course of the campaign, you're supposed to attack and defeat 9 different colossi, one for each level. And the only way you can level up is by defeating a colossi in the campaign mechanics. Um, Other things of importance that this is a mining society. They're mining something called essentia, which is required for magic. And so every outpost, every town is somehow connected to this essentia mining, and mining or refining of the essentia into, um, sort of a magical battery, so magical battery power. The refined essentia can be used that way. Raw essentia can also be used, but it's of course less efficient per pound. Um, so the drylands are quite wealthy, and that's why. So the that's kind of where we're at, and we might take some liberties with all this and play out just one adversary um, per tier. Now that I think about it, um, because I don't, we'll figure that out when we're actually playing. So that's our setting, Colossus of the Drylands. That's our tentative plan, is to fight 9 colossi, which sounds like an exhausting amount of combat, so I probably won't do that. Um, and that's where we're going to be in the Drylands, fighting colossi. The second question that we have to ask ourselves, or another question, would be, who are we? Who are these characters going to be? And who are our characters going to be? And the answer to that question is that we're going to have a brawler, and we're going to have an assassin, who are as of yet unnamed and unplaced. So I guess we can start. But I have made some decisions about um, their, at the very least, we've got their class, and um, I've chosen their uh, ancestry, and I've chosen their background or their community, and I've chosen their subclasses. So our first character is an assassin. They are Duneborn, which is one of the new playtest communities available on the Void. Um, it just says that during a short rest, you or an ally can reroll a die used for a downtime action, which seems useful to me for a short rest and comes up a lot. And then for ancestry, I created this ancestry that I'm calling Dust Devil, which is a combination of the Skykin and the Earthkin backgrounds. These are two backgrounds, or ancestries, sorry, that are available on the Void. I chose to take the top of Skykin, Gale Force, Marcus Stress to conjure a gust of wind that carries you or an ally up to very far range. Additionally, you can always control at what rate you fall, so this character can gust and disappear, which I thought was good for an assassin. Quick escapes. And then immovable. When your feet are touching the ground, you cannot be moved or lifted against your will. And that's the bottom ability for the Earthkin. So I thought that was a good option for anyone who might have to do any kind of melee fighting, or to be able to not be knocked around. Um, then for the assassin subclass, I went with Executioner's Guild. Executioner's Guild gives you first strike. The first time in a scene you succeed on an attack roll, double the damage for that attack. And ambush, your marked for death feature uses D6s instead of D4s. What is a marked for death feature? It's in the assassin class. On a successful weapon attack, you can mark a stress to make the target marked for death. Attacks you make against a target that's marked for death gain a bonus to damage equal to 1 plus 1d4 per tier. So you can only have one adversary marked for death at a time. You can't transfer or remove the condition except by defeating the target. The GM can spend a number of fear equal to your proficiency to remove that condition. Which makes sense because the GM can usually spend fear to end a condition. And then the assassin also has a spend a hope to ask the GM to either a quick or inconspicuous way into or out of a building or structure you can see. And you can get advantage on a roll doing that. So that's a little bit about the assassin class. Let's choose a let's choose a card. To maybe get some idea, or how are we going to get names for these guys? One way I do this is I'll choose tarot cards. That's always an option, just to get some idea of who my characters might be. Right now I'm using a deck that I believe has only women in it, so yeah, pretty much. That's the deck I got with me. So I guess we'll use some other method of doing this. Let's roll for it. We've already got our ancestries. We've already got our communities. Really, we're just rolling for pronouns at this point, and to kind of give ourselves an idea of who these people are. Okay. So usually I do a D12 roll where like one, I think it's 1 and 2 is they them pronouns. 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, 9, 10, 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 3 to 7 is she, her pronouns, and 8 through 12 is he, him pronouns. So let's see what we get for our first character. 7. Okay, so our assassin uses she, her pronouns. So let's go ahead and add that to the sheet. Okay, pronouns. She / her. Okay. And what else do we need to know? Heritage, we've already decided on that. The assassin's heritage is Dust Devil. And they are a Dust Devil that is Dune born. And their subclass is Executioner's Guild. Great. Does she have a name? She's got to have a name. Let's go to the fantasy. Let's go to the fantasy name generator. Um, one of my favorite things. And let's see, fantasy and folklore. Let's look for Freet names. Since she's a sky spirit, or at least partially a sky spirit. And let's see, what do we got here? We got Natha, Jafiri, Familia, Cephalde, Says who? These names are kind of difficult to say. Let's go with, I don't know, giant names. Do we have giant names as an option? Yes, we do. Let's see. Roas, Fonrion, Godbor, Dusog, Trog. Erebos. We could do something with Erebos. Let's go with the name. Let's see. Yeah, I don't like that because it suddenly sounds like. Well, we'll go with it. And instead of bos, because os is kind of a masculine or a neuter ending in Latin, at least. I think is a more. So we'll go with Aribia. Aribia, she, her, Dust Devil, Duneborn, Executioner's Guild. Fantastic. Now, let's add some information about this character that is more mechanical. Their suggested traits are +2 agility, plus -1 strength, +1 finesse, +0 instinct, +0 presence, +1 knowledge. And you know what? I think we're just going to go with those. So we have +2 for agility, -1 for strength, +1 for finesse, +0 for instinct, +0 for presence, +1 for knowledge. Evasion starts at 12. Active weapons. Let's see what we got for options. They suggest a broadsword, but because we're playing Colossus of the Drylands, one thing I didn't mention, we got guns. So I think we will go with one of these guns as the primary weapon. And let's see, which one shall we choose? What page are they on? Here we go. So for agility, we will go with the rifle as the primary weapon. It is agility. It is very far. D1, it has tier 1, it has D8 plus 2 physical damage that it does. And its feature is Sightline. 2 hope to gain advantage on the roll. So that's the rifle. Secondary weapon for our assassin, I think we'll take should we take a lasso? Let's take a lasso. Lassos have a lot of stuff going on with them. And their agility, and they're very close. So I think that's a bad backup weapon. I think for a backup weapon, let's take a short sword. I mean, it really doesn't matter what we take for a secondary weapon. We're not going to use it too much. We'll take a short sword. And it does D8 physical damage. Active armor, we're going to choose leather, which is the suggested armor. It has a base thresholds of 6 and 13. Its score is 3, so our armor score is 3. Our minor damage threshold is 7. Our major damage threshold will be 14 to start out with. I think we start the game with, how much hope do we start the game with? Let's look that up. Let's look in the book. It's exciting and new. Let's see. Hope. Rolling with features using 9161, maybe? It doesn't say how much hope you start with. I'll look that up later. No point in just not doing anything for any length of time here. Okay. Short sword, leather armor, no inventory at the moment, no gold at the moment. We'll assume that we take, for inventory, we'll have our torch, 50 feet of rope, basic supplies, handful of gold. Handful of gold. And either minor health or minor stamina. We'll go with minor health. And that's there. We'll get to background questions after we have some idea about who our other character is. Our other character is our brawler. Our brawler is, that's a 12. Our brawler uses he, him pronouns. Our brawler's name is Dusog. We'll use that giant name. Dusog. Their heritage is, and I've already made some choices here as well. So for Dusog, we went with the Freeborn community, which is another test community. Freeborn, once per session, when you make an action roll with fear, you can change it to a roll with hope instead. So that's nice. And then for ancestry, I'm going with something I'm calling a stone sylph. Which is a creature of air and stone. The stone sylph can have many different appearances. And their abilities are Stone Skin, gain a +1 bonus to your armor score and damage thresholds, which is the Earthkin top ability. And Eye of the Storm, spend 2 hope to grant a +1 bonus to either you or an ally's evasion until you next take severe damage or you use Eye of the Storm again. So those are the 2 abilities. That's the bottom ability from the brain is freezing, but the Airkin. The Airkin ancestry. So ancestry is Stone Sylph, and subclass. I think for subclass for the we can go with 2 things for the brawler. We have the there are 2 subclasses for the brawler. There is the, let's see here. There's the Juggernaut and the Martial Artist. And the thing about the Martial Artist is that the Martial Artist says, during a rest, roll a number of d6s equal to your instinct and place a number of focus tokens equal to the highest value rolled on this card. That is almost impossible for me to do in the situation where I'm moving stuff around. I got enemies, I got dice, I got everything, and it's a very small space because I'm not really a fan of my lavalier mics, and so I tend to use this mic. And so it's hard to do things like put tokens down. Whereas the Juggernaut just says increase your damage dice to D8. And on a successful attack, you can spend a hope to force the target to mark a stress or throw them within close range. And that sounds boss. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have the Juggernaut class for Dusog. Dusog. Dusog? Dusog. 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 And then we, let's see. Now, choosing cards is, I feel like, anytime you've got access to the Valor class, and especially in the case of this brawler who's a bare knuckle brawler, I think we're going to go with Bare Bones as one card. And then from Bones, I decided to take Untouchable, which you gain a bonus to your evasion equal to half your ability. Why does this come up? Because the suggested strength traits for the brawler are +1 agility, +1 strength. And I think we're going to go with +2 agility, +1 strength, +1 instinct, +0 finesse, +0 presence, -1 for knowledge. So not terribly knowledgeable is our brawler. However, active armor is Bare Bones. 9 and 19 for base thresholds. Base armor score of 3 plus strength, which is 4. Agility is 10, but with the agility of 2, we get, with Untouchable, we raise our evasion to at least 11. So our brawler at least has 11 evasion. And so we'll use agility as our main So for class feature, I am the weapon. When you don't have any equipped weapons, you gain a +1 bonus to evasion. So we'll gain another one because we won't equip any weapons. So that's an evasion of 12. Your unarmed strikes are considered a melee weapon using trait of your choice. We'll use agility because that's where we put our +2. And they deal d8 plus d6 physical damage, except that we're a brawler or a juggernaut. And for a juggernaut, those d8 damage dice become d10. So the juggernaut deals a d10 plus d6 on attacks, and has a combo strike ability as well. So no primary weapon, no secondary weapon, bare bones. That's the start of our brawler. It's time to figure out some backstory, I guess, for these guys. Backstory is always so hard. Let's see. Oh, let's put our damage thresholds down. They are 10 and 20. Okay. So who is Dusog? Where is he from? His background questions are from the sheet. Where did you spend time during your formative years that taught you directly or indirectly how to fight in the style you use? And we're going to say that we were trained. We were trained by kind of a like a Pinkertonish entity, somebody who pays for protection, pays for bodyguards, pays for detectives, pays for stuff like that. So, and probably pays for assassins too. So, kind of trained by a kind of a security company. A security company that's more like I guess more like a way of life, like a mob. And yeah, so we'll summarize that as at Fight Club. Which is a security broker. Trainer. Slash cartel. Okay, so Fight Club. We do not talk about Fight Club. What group or organization has always had your back? The cartel. How did I get in their good graces? I do my job, man. I do my job. Who did you lose a fight against long ago that you are desperate for a rematch against? Student of my age. What's their name? Alan. And I'm desperate for a rematch. Okay. Let's go to our assassin, and let's answer some of these same kinds of questions. What organization trained you in the art of killing, and how did you gain membership in it? I was raised in the security cartel. So, both of our characters, one is a probably more muscle, trained to like beat people up and intimidate people, maybe, um, or just beat people up. And the other one is trained in the art of shooting people. Um, Throughout your entire career, one target has eluded you. Who are they, and how have they managed to slip through your fingers? Um, there is an open bounty on Stanley Three Fingers. Uh, Finding him is a frustrating hobby. Okay. So there's an open bounty out. Anybody can take it. I've got my own investigation going on, or Aribia has her own investigation going on, and has so far failed to find Stanley Three Fingers. They're just too good. Just too slick. You always do what you must to take down your target, but there's one line you will never cross. What is it? No kids. As a rule, we don't shoot children. All right, that's our assassins questions. Now we're at connections. What about me, Aribia, frightens you, Dusog? That's a good question. And the split questions are, what is one thing we're both afraid of? Okay, so what are we both afraid of? We're both afraid of failure. Neither of us likes to lose. Not just doesn't like to lose, is terrified of being seen as a loser. So, kind of an insecurity there, a fear around loss. What about Aribia frightens Dusog? I think it's the impersonal violence. Aribia is an assassin. She will take out a target from a distance, or in ways that the target never knows what's happening. And it's so impersonal. Whereas Dusog, also a thug, um, has a tendency, is willing to take on the role of beating someone up, but sees it as being more emotional. It's hard to, it's hard to fight in complete and total, or at least for Dusog, it's not easy to fight in a very deadpan kind of way. They tend to get a little worked up, and the way that Aribia does not get worked up kind of freaks Dusog out a little bit. I rely on you for something important during our travels together. What is it, and how do you feel about it? Um, Something important. Well, it's important. Oh, I'll say that logistics, right? Um, yeah, because Aribia's got fairly reasonable knowledge, and Dusog does not. So Dusog assumes that Aribia is going to be handling the logistics. Where are they going? What are they doing? And Aribia feels slightly frustrated about that. Um, you once asked me to do something that keeps you up at night. What was it? What did Aribia ask Dusog that keeps Aribia up at night? What indeed? What indeed? What indeed? Keeps me up at night. Um, Going back to that fear of failure. Um, Okay. Okay. Um, you. I asked Aribia asked Dusog to um asked to take credit for a kill. Why Aribia would have asked Dusog to take credit for a kill, I don't know, but she did, and it keeps her up at night. Okay. Um, Dusog, have not forgiven you, Aribia, for something you said to me. What was it, and why did you say it? Um, um, I think in a fit of pique, Aribia asked Dusog, do you think you can pack your own bag? And just frustrated about the logistics thing. This like kind of like weird, this kind of dependency that Dusog has on Aribia to organize things came out in this sort of like, we're going here, we're going there, we're going to this other place. Do you think you could pack your own bag this time? Which is unfair. Dusog does pack his own bag and does a fine job doing it, um, and kind of took that to heart. Um, from Dusog's point of view, he's not asking Aribia to beat people up. Everybody does what they're good at. And finally, what secret about myself did I tell you, and how did it change your view of me? Um, Aribia likes poetry. And that makes me think you're a bit soft. All right, so Dusog's kind of a rough and tumble person. Doesn't really get this whole like poetry thing, and kind of sees it as being like a sign of weakness. For cards for level 1 for Aribia, we're going to take Rain of Blades. We have this is Midnight and Blade are the domains. Out of the choices that were available, I think we're going to choose Spend a Hope to make a spellcast roll and conjure throwing blades that strike out at all targets within very close range. That seemed very useful. The targets take D8 plus 2 damage, which is great. And they take extra damage if they're vulnerable. And then that's from the Midnight domain, and then from the Blade domain, it took Not Good Enough. You roll your damage dice, you can re-roll any 1s and 2s. So those are our characters. Those are our characters. That's where we're starting. There's a couple of little things to figure out with our characters, like how much hope do we start the campaign with? But adding a handful of gold, adding a stamina potion. But yeah, I think that is going to do it for our little session 0 here. So thanks for tuning in. See you next time. And, hey, keep rolling, y'all.